So, it's 2025. WWE is starting out their new year, starting off with a bang with Netflix, Rumble coming up, WrestleMania. So many things, so many options. And with all this coming off a big banger of a WrestleMania last year to a 2024 that had good to but mixed results. I am going to say that I think that this year is a make it or break it year for WWE. Now hold on, hear me out, hear me out. Of course, right? That's why you might be here, and if you made it this past, then you might want to listen to what I'm saying. Now, I'm not saying like make it or break it in a way of like they're gonna tank really bad, or everybody gonna be like booing the product, or it's gonna be like this sucks and all this other stuff. No. I was like, that's not necessarily how I'm thinking about it, because I was like, one, WWE is a big monster. It's going to do what it's going to do. I was like, once WrestleMania hits, everything's going to heighten up. I was like, even if it goes awry of whatever you might think might be the bad scenario, it's still going to be WWE WrestleMania. But, and what I'm saying is that now we're going into basically, I want to say, I was like, this is really Triple H's second year doing WrestleMania, because I was like, Vince came back a little bit of that when he had that run when he was like started with the SummerSlam going into the WrestleMania. Vince sort of came back and sort of kerfuffle of a little stuff or whatever like that. So I was like, how you want to see it? 2.5, 3 years, whatever. The reason I say that is because I feel like this is sort of the year where we sort of start getting the feel of how things are going to go for a good minute. That doesn't mean I was like, look, companies go up, they go down. So I'm not saying that this is going to be like the end, or we're going to get back to the trash years, nothing like that. That's not the black cloud I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is that we have seen good and we've seen bad, and some of that's also because we were still. I was like, when I feel like you're riding the honeymoon, you kind of have to you're looking at things so gleeful. You're over here like, oh man, everything's so great. I love you, you love me, we love each other. And then after that, it's kind of like, oh, okay. I was like, not that the love goes anywhere, but it's just like, oh, I really enjoy this person. And then it sort of gets to the part where you just realize, hey, this is just our relationship. This is life. Oh, okay, cool. You just you just gonna bite your toenails. That's what you're gonna do. Well, hey, I still love you. I shared this my area with you, kind of thing. And then you just like, oh, okay, this is who this person is. And by that I'm saying is that when we had Mr. Vince here, we was really just like, oh my god, the same thing, repetitive, nothing makes sense, all this other stuff. Man, if only the Triple H would come back, or Triple H saves the day. Oh, he saves the day. Oh, look, he's bringing back some of the people that we have in the law. Look at this. We got a damage control. That's crazy. Karrion Kross is back. Oh man, that is awesome. Stories that make sense. People that aren't just heels just because they were this week. They actually have motivation. That's the storyline. There's characters here. Everything is connecting over here like butt cheeks when you don't wipe. It's a thing that we all can start to enjoy. But I think in 2024, you start seeing a little bit of the flaws of things or whatever. Like I said, nobody's perfect. This is how it comes with the course. But we started seeing like, okay, I was like, okay, we're just gonna do titles mainly on PLEs. Not too bad. Okay, cool. I was like, oh man, this guy is hot. We over here. Okay, so we're not going to. And by that, I've referenced before Chad Gable. I've talked about sort of with the Wyatts. But to expand on it, I was like, I sort of think that a little bit sort of with Jade. I think that also a bit with Naomi. The stuff with the Street Profits. DIY was really in nothing for a long time. That I think all that his long term, like, some of this is just because I was like, he just not. It's just not nothing's happening, and it's like, okay, cool. It's one thing when you like, okay, I understand creative over here doing things with different people. That it's like, okay, things gonna take a while. But also, if stuff sort of get disrupted, there's really not a quick pivot for a lot of things in the same way that we might have seen how we did when we seen The Rock and Roman and Cody. Like we seen how they were able to pivot that, and it was such a change that I think that's why it worked, because if this would have been back in with the Vince days, we would have just got stuck with Rock and Roman in a way where it's like no matter how much y'all would have said really Cody Crowd, like he might have, just because if somebody would have been like, oh, this is the same stuff we sort of got with the Chad Gable. I mean, not the Chad Gable, but the I was like, not Chad Gable, Daniel Bryan. I was like that. I was like, you might have been able to make it work. I was like CM Punk going down. I was like, but we was able to pivot. I was like, we was over here to create something good out of maybe a poop sandwich we about to eat. But with everything else, there wasn't that. We sort of got a little bit of it with Rhea when she first got hurt with Liv. Cause I was like, that might have been a story, but that might have just been maybe a regular story until we basically decided to make it Liv's revenge tour. But then when injuries happened, it was sort of like, okay, we're never getting off the pot with this one. I was like, the Judgment Day thing. I was like, it sort of stalled out with it. The thing with Damian Priest, but also too, it's like, hey, well, what else you supposed to do? You got to get Gunther over, but that didn't also go correctly either. So we just keep the belt on a lot of these people. Also, I will say, even though it's kind of like, are we keeping the belt on them because they got something that we're doing with them, or is it just to sort of just strengthen the person? Like Gunther has the title on him. I was like, I'm fine with Gunther as the champion. I've liked Gunther matches and stuff like that. But I will say him just having the title on, just because of him having the title on. At least with Cody, we know that what made the beginning of it so a little bit slow and a little bit drawn out. It's just because we know that it's like, okay, we're going to get back to Roman, we're going to get to the Raw, and we know it's going to happen all the way to WrestleMania. I was like, understandable. I was like, Damian Priest, I was like, cash in, understandable. I was like, Gunther, I was like, the king of the ring after coming off the Intercontinental Championship link. Okay, makes sense. Then it's just kind of like, okay, well, he has the title, but what's really going on with him? You know what I'm saying? So it's stuff like that. I think the nine stuff is fine or whatever. Then I was like, then it's also some stuff where it's like you realize like, okay, when their main feuds are going on, CM Punk, Drew, we had that going on for a while. We did have the Liv and Rhea going on, and the stuff with Judgment Day, and I was like, we had the Bloodline stuff. But outside of that, everything also didn't sort of work. I was like, I went to go to Chad Gable. I was like, that storyline with him and Sammy, really good, and then just okay, and now we're just sort of bringing it back. All right, cool. All right. I was like, New Day. I was like, it took a long time, but hey, we got there. But there's also a lot of will they, won't they break up. DIY, that took a long time to basically get to whatever the resolution was with that. A Town Down, we still know what that is. I was like, we had the stuff with Judgment Day, so there's a lot of repetitive measures with a lot of these stories as well too, to where it's like, I think that's going to be a thing that they're going to have a hard time with. I was like, it's really good and refreshing when you really change it up from something that you've been doing for a long time. Just like in a relationship, that is like every day, every day, every day. Hey, we're going out dancing. Oh, a little change up today. That doesn't mean that you do it all the time. That just means change up for the day. Oh, okay, cool. Trying to keep a little spice going on. I get it. Wrestling's sort of difficult when you gotta do this every single week with something new on every TV show for a couple hours. But the thing is, at some point, we're going to reach ahead. I think with this character storyline type of stuff, where it's like okay. I was like Cody with the finish line with the bloodline. At some point, this bloodline thing, I was like, look, this all, and a lot of this all starts on January 6th, and it's going, and I was like with Netflix, and we're going to see how this goes. But the bloodline thing at some point is going to sort of run its course of what this is. Not saying that the bloodline necessarily goes away, but at some point the bloodline will not be the main thing anymore. Because I was like, you're not going to really be able to do something where like, Solo doesn't have his team and Jacob takes over. I was like, no, you're going to have to say something like that for a little bit later on. Like, like Zillow comes in a couple of years, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the bloodline's back, something. But you can't. But this is not going to be at some point. People are going to get tired out about it. Also, the same thing where everybody sort of is right now is having the point of where it's like the New Day. I was like, it's Liv, it's Drew. I was like, it's been CM Punk, Seth, KO, where all of them have like valid points. That is great. That is good. But I was like, the fact that they all blend in of basically I'm the one telling the truth and nobody listens. That at some point is also going to you're gonna have to figure out how to pivot from that just because everybody sort of has that in their story. And it's like, yes, we do like it when real life sort of bleeds in and makes it real, but everybody sort of got the same thing. And I think that's sort of cool because on one hand, it's like real people. And all of us think that we're basically the heroes in the story or whatever, when we also know that at the same time, even we don't admit it, we're also maybe a villain in somebody's story. But if everybody thinks that they shit don't stink, then what does any of this really also kind of matter at a certain point? It's just going to end up probably maybe just getting back to fighting. I was like, how we sort of proceed with the Smack. I was like, they got more pressure on their hand with SmackDown now being 3 hours when they got tail of two halves with the year where it was like really really slow and that first half. Second half picked up really good. I was like, really good. Raw was really good those first 3 hours, gave people a lot of screen time. The chaos was crazy. I was like, then in a second, I was like, I think they were still good, but you started realizing that outside of the main storylines, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. I was like, I mean, I guess. I was like, okay, cool. They're getting a little bit screamy TV time. And we'll see how that goes with Netflix and stuff like that. You know, where they can fluctuate between the amount of time. They can go up, down, and however long they want to because you're not on a TV that has some other programming. But I also think that, hey, this top end talent, you're going back to the title thing and how everything's gonna go. You got a lot of top end talent of people that at some point people are going to want and crave. Where it's like that person story probably be damn. You know, like right now, people are really like, oh man, I would really love to see Kevin Owens win. He's not gonna win against Cody, but he's at the top. Drew, you're gonna want to see him win because he's doing such a good job right now. But then there's also CM Punk, who's also doing a really good job, and it's a draw. People kind of want to see if Roman can get back into the whole picture. I was like, Seth Rollins, has to be somewhere around, especially with the people he's dealing with. I was like, Jay Uso, is he not going to get I was like, a championship at some point? Are we going to really wait to see how long it takes for his love, like not his love, but the pop that he gets to see how long that wanes until we're over here like, oh damn, we should have pulled the trigger on him or whatever. I was like, Sami Zayn is always fighting all these top people. He's not gonna even just get like a little taste at the championship. I was like, it's a lot of mouths to feed up at the top. That I think that to me that's harder than some of the mid card stuff. Cause I was like, you can sort of get around with the mid card stuff or whatever. We sort of seen like we haven't really seen the U.S. or the Intercontinental change hands like that. So but I was like, I at least got it when I'm like Braun Breaker. I was like, young talent over here, establish him to where it's like, oh, okay, cool. If he comes out to the Intercontinental Championship, that could also be another dude that you want to that gonna be in the main event type area, whatever like that. But he's young, so you're able to a little bit hold him off a little bit, you know. I was like, the U.S. Championship, it's with Shinsuke, LA Knight a little bit. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You could sort of manipulate and play around with a lot of people in that spot. But at some point, you got to feed all these dogs. And you only got I guess there's 2 championships. So you only got like 2 bags of food. But with the Royal Rumble coming up, that's going to say a lot. I was like, Elimination Chamber, they're going to say a lot. I didn't even throw The Rock in here, and then how we going to get to WrestleMania? That's another thing. People already also, too, was like, okay, so is Bloodline going to be here in one of the main events? Do the women not get a main event for winning the Rumble? That's another thing that you over here got to feed. There's so many, I was like, and sort of the division as a whole, because I was like, because Liv and Rhea, I want to say Leah, I want to combine them both like they're in the ship, was holding the title for so much. And the fact that nobody, and this was going to the point where I was like, are they just having the title just to have the title? Because I was like, Liv hasn't fought anybody but Io the whole year. I was like, so it's kind of like, okay, so she's just holding on to the championship. At least Nia Jax has been over here facing people, even though it's just been Bayley and Naomi from like the whole time. or whatever like that. But you've been able to sort of get by at least making a monster match of people with that women's division over there. I was like, I think Miss Shannon also got in there as well too. I was like, but you got that whole division to sort of like lift up because it's like almost going back to the men that you are top heavy. You are top heavy. With I was like where people just like you don't have to create a reason for them, especially like Becky and Charlotte once they come back. Bailey can just be thrown in there. Naomi, even though she didn't had her chance that her sort of momentum at the wane. Um, I was like, so you've had. I was like, you got people still at the top of the women that you also sort of try to gotta feed or whatever. That I just don't think that I was like, I'm not. I was like, look, I understand that you gotta at least give like most people like at least like 2 pay-per-views in order to really be champion. But not, I was like, some people can just be a transitional champion for somebody else. It's fine. It was like you can make it make sense in the storyline, or you can make it make sense for right now. But you're just gonna have to go this around. Uh, but I don't think this is something like I said that's like we'll get to end of like 2025 and then go into 2026 and be like I ain't watching the product no more. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that while there is things and fix, I was like I think that this is a year that you start to see like okay. I was like, okay, I get it. But I'm sort of wanting to see like what's next. Like think about this with a team, like a sports team. Normally by year 3, if that coach does get that long amount of time, or that GM combo gets that long amount of time, that's when you over here are starting to see wanting to see results. Either with that draft pick that you got, that you over here like, okay, we gonna start plugging around with them. All right, cool. Or you starting to be like, okay, we need to start sort of like winning instead of this rebuilding stuff. Because that's what Triple H had to do. He had to rebuild it. So that's why I said I was like, he gets some grace on this as well. I just think that after WrestleMania is when you're gonna see. Because I was like, for the most part, I was like getting the Rumble right. That's a hard challenge. Because like I said, there's a lot of people you can put in that spot, but I was like, but you could get there and you could get to WrestleMania with it, and then with the Elimination Chamber, you could figure that out. It's after that where it's just like, okay, I was like, some of the stuff you did last year, I had to change it up. I was like, what kind of? Cause we're also knocking a lot of these feuds out the way too. Like, yes, they're going to be the whole longevity of where it's like Drew and CM Punk probably never going to be friends. Seth and CM Punk probably never going to be friends. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins not gonna be friends. That's fine. They're always gonna have their issues with each other. But we're sort of getting these feuds out the way at a pretty significant way because I was like this is where they are trying to strike when the iron's hot. Like we couldn't do the CM Punk was like Seth Rollins thing. We're going to go ahead and do this now or whatever because you gotta do it while you can. But at the same time, I was like, you are going to have to come back with heat when it comes back to the next time. Because I was like, are we going to do 3 in a row with these things and stuff like that? I was like, nobody knows. But I'm just telling you how people can be finicky. I'm not saying where it's going to be boo. It's just going to be kind of like, I wish they would have handled that differently. Okay, it was cool. I was like, yeah, I guess we'll keep him champion. I don't really know what's going on here, but that was a fun match. That's what you don't want. You want what you had last year, where people was over here like, yo, what the Rock gonna do? They gonna actually let Cody win? I don't know. I was like, well, how to see CM Punk involved in all of this? That's the type of engagement that they're looking for. And I was like, you're gonna have it's gonna be a little slow, just like how it is at work, where there's slow periods and stuff like that. But you still want to keep the engagement at a level. I was like, I already talked about the Netflix thing, how that's gonna go. I think how John Cena, I was like, plays as a full-time type of guy in this last year because that's another mouth to feed that you got to figure out. Do we give the fan service of things, or do we just have him putting on incredible matches? And by fan service, I was like, I think a lot of people do sort of want him to break the record, but we also don't want him to look like a chump. Like we're not saying that he needs to be like Cena wins low because he is older, but damn it, we also kind of want to be like, yeah, but I want to see Cena beat people asses and also rack up these wins. Maybe he get a championship or two. I was like, that got to be the main title. I was like, break the record? Probably. But at the same time, he better win one of these mid-card championships at the same time. And when he lose, it actually means something. And I ain't just like, I'm just going to put over younger talent. I was like, not if you over here also just look like a bozo doing it. That's all I'm saying with it. With all that being said, I just think it's a pivotal point. Maybe that's how I should end it. That is a pivotal point for the Triple H regime, because I was like, it's not gonna plummet. I was like, I think it's still gonna stay at the top. I don't. We'll see how this WrestleMania goes. Where it's like, I don't know, we'll get back to the heights of last year, but it's WrestleMania season, so I was like, of course it's gonna be like that. But I just think that height was going to carry for the whole half, and it really didn't. It didn't. Everything was cool. Everything was fine. Cause we're just like, yes, he has full control and see how things go. And it was kind of like, with some stuff. So I was like, there's some stuff that he got to do, but pivotal year for WWE. Anyway, what do you think? Do you think that this is like 2.5, 3, whatever, however you want to count it, like Kingdom Hearts, that is a make it or break it year, or do you think that I'm just over here just talking nonsense, or we got like another year? We got to see how it goes first or something like that. Anyway, let me know what you think. Until then, peace. I'm out.